Can you hear me, Zach? Take that as no.
Like to call to order the regular meeting for the Zionsville Redevelopment Commission for April 25th, 2022. Time is 6:31. As you get more folks online, if you could let us know if anyone needs to be noted. Councilman Garrett has asked that there's an opportunity to speak for one of the topics on our agenda item.
Sally Zalonis and John Towsley are here.
Wayne, if you could, TIF area memos.
Certainly, in front of you this evening are many names and addresses that you recognize from previous reports. Certainly giving an update to you, for example, on Cohatch, they did have a ribbon cutting last week. So anxiously awaiting arrival of that project. The community is now here.
Very exciting project.
Yes.
I really was impressed with that.
There's certainly other updates for you throughout this list. Again, just remarking that you have activity in many TIF districts, lots of different projects underway. Certainly bonding conversations currently ongoing with Holiday Farms, working on the creation of the new Michigan Road TIF district, and certainly your current bonding activity that's ongoing in Appaloosa Crossing. Just mentioning that on the side here, but very active in front of you, and happy to answer any questions you may have related to the report.
I was just curious on the Holiday Farm TIF, it says continued to April 19th, special meeting of the Planning Commission. Do we know what the outcome of that was? And what are the waivers?
So the continuance of that matter pending with the Plan Commission is, I believe, to their, that needs to be updated, but it was to their June 21st Tuesday date. That meeting is on Tuesday because of the Juneteenth holiday. Specific to the waivers, those would be waivers from standards found in the PUD. I can't recite those offhand, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Have a time frame for group 1001 to, again, full occupancy.
They are continuing to move in as we speak here. I don't have a timeline offhand. I know that they're continuing to be satisfied with their building, and certainly looking and anxiously wrapping up their active commercial permitting activities and just moving in and building from there.
Okay, great, thank you. Any questions for Wayne in regards to the various districts? Okay, great, thank you, Wayne.
Certainly.
Old business, approval and adoption of our minutes from the March 28th regular meeting and then the April 25th executive session from this morning.
Move to accept the 28 minutes.
Second. Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. We also have the memorandum from the executive session.
And I would note on that, I believe we have an incorrect citation of the reason for meeting per your notice. Indiana Code 5-14.1.5-6.1B4 was the reason you convened. And I think we just simply grabbed an old version, but this needs to be updated to that citation.
Motion to accept the minutes, the memorandum based on the revision.
So moved.
A motion and a second. Second. Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, thank you. We also have next on old business is the 2022 Zionsville CDC member appointment on behalf of our RDC. We had a committee of 2 that were reviewing applications. Colleen, would you like to give an update?
Yeah, Kate Swanson and I reviewed the applicants and met together and with one other member of the RDC and would like to nominate Erica Carpenter to that open position.
Great. Any questions, discussion on RDC nominating Erica Carpenter for the CDC?
So would you like a motion?
I believe so.
I'll move to appoint Erica Carpenter as the CDC member,
Motion.
appointed by the RDC.
Great.
Second?
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And then just for clarification, that's a term for the remainder of the year. And so they'll come back next year
Okay.
to discuss the
Great.
appointment again.
Appreciate your guys' work on vetting through the various interests for that position. The A&F engineering intersection study, this is a traffic study that the RDC funded for the Gateway area, which is the extension of First Street and connecting to South Main. The study has been complete and submitted to Lance. I've had a chance to glance at it with some recommendations for what the First and Sycamore intersection may look like with regards to traffic counts and traffic management. I believe if there are any questions, I know Mr. Lance is not available to join us today. And the next steps would be based on those recommendations to have an RFQ for design services of First Street, which Mr. Lance is working on an RFQ for that.
Yeah, we did invite Lance to join us this evening, but something came up at the last minute. I'm sure he would be available in the future to come to attend virtually or in person.
Right. And I've been working with Lance on some of the items that would go into the RDC, into the RFQ. Any questions on that? Okay, great. Old business, Creekside Corporate Park, lots 10 and 11. We have received a revised term sheet from RFPDI LLC. And we had some discussion this morning in the executive session. I know councilmen would like to have an opportunity to provide some input, so feel free.
Appreciate that. And members of RDC, thank you here for the time and for your time this morning. My name is Josh Garrett, Town Councilor with District 5. I'm here in very vocal support of what Mr. Rahal is proposing here today. I sort of look through our community and there's a number of times that I think we have missed opportunities. If you look around at Anson, where Whitestown is today, and all of the commercial tax base that could have been part of Zionsville. If you look at the airport that is now owned by Hamilton County, this opportunity in front of us right now, I think, is one of those inflection points that if we aren't able to come to a agreement on luring it, will be one of those missed opportunities. And I just want to make sure that I'm here today so that I can tell people I was not part of that opportunity. I want this to come to our town. Actually, I forgot. This week's IBJ, on the third page, there's a big article here. And you can see here, I'm not going to read it to you, but it says Rahal headquarters spurs interest in Zionsville Biz Park. And that's certainly clear. We've got some opportunities here to sell some lots, but Mr. Graham Rahal is quoted here throughout that. And I think his interest helped to drive this story, but also starts to help drive exposure for our town. I did some research. The last article that was in the IBJ about Creekside Corporate was in 2019, and it was titled Zionsville Creekside Corporate Park Remains Largely Empty. So, you know, a lot has changed here. The market has changed. We've brought in RLL, which is a great change. And I think this is a great complementary business to that decision that was already made and which I fully support. If you drive by, it's very exciting to see that go up. Delaying this process, we're certainly not doing this process at all, but even delaying this process costs us money. I was speaking to a local developer here today who's going through a process right now. A 1 month delay on his project costs the town of Zionsville $50,000. That is 1 month in property tax revenue for that project. This is a $20 million project that Mr. Rahal has proposed. Delaying it and delaying it, even that decision can cost this town money. Today I was at my local gym. It's owned by a local business owner, Correct Compete. I was telling him about what was going up with RLL, and I was telling him about this new opportunity with GRP. And he was excited as a local business owner because he recognized that this type of facility is going to bring people to our town. It's going to bring visitors to our town who are certainly going to come to events, come to shop for the high-end product that he's offering, but also may look around and say, gee, I may want to go work out at that gym or see that indoor driving range he has, or other businesses on our main street where those people may end up as well to shop and to eat. We as a town, we as a council, spend a lot of money supporting local organizations that encourage entrepreneurship. We have sponsored Z-Works. We're very happy. Cohatch is here that you just talked about. We've sponsored the Chamber. We have sponsored in the past the Boone EDC. Mr. Rahal is a local resident with a growing, exciting business wanting to invest in our community. I understand there may be some concerns with the project. There may be concerns with timing, but I think all of that can be worked out during a good faith negotiation. Every interaction I've had with Mr. Rahal, I think speak to President Plunkett and hopefully yourselves, he has shown an enormous willingness to work with the community to make adjustments that may address some of the concerns you may have. And if he's not willing to address those concerns, that may be a part of the negotiation and it doesn't get done. And so I'm here, I think, really just to ask this committee to go into that good faith negotiation. I think you have the support from council to go through the zoning process in parallel to that, so we don't delay his project. And that also allows for public input and allows for pushback. So whether it's the negotiations that you have with him or the pushback we were to get from the neighbors or the public, all that would have to be facilitated before something was actually moved forward. So I appreciate your time today. I appreciate your consideration on this, and hoping that we can add this as another jewel here to Zionsville. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jason Plunkett, Town Council President. I live at 6725 John Station. I want to thank the members of the RDC again for the opportunity to come out this evening. I also want to thank Mr. Rahal and his team for their continued efforts and patience and interest in Creekside Corporate Park. As I stated in our last meeting and your last meeting, we are certainly at the Town Council level interested in this project coming to us. We appreciate the opportunity to change what's needed to be changed in Creekside. And as Councilor Garrett mentioned, we're happy to do that simultaneously. And as Councilor Garrett mentioned, there was an article recently written in the IBJ where Councilor Garrett and Mr. Rahal were interviewed regarding the project. There were certainly quotes from the mayor as well as Mr. DeLong in the article. And the town shared that on their social media platform. The town council shared that on our social media platform. It's certainly, at least from our perspective, from town council, we shared it because it's something that we like. And it's a interesting project that can bring visitors, folks to Zionsville that may never come to Zionsville were it not for this particular type of project. In that article or in the post that the town put out, it referenced Mayor Styron's objective to develop Creekside and look at the vision of Creekside 2.0. This is Creekside 2.0. When you start to introduce certain types of development, like-minded development will follow, and it just makes sense. And again, to be clear, we are at least supportive of that at the town council level of that like-minded type of development. And I think that's a good thing. I think this type of development can help diversify the Creekside tax base and help us when the market's not doing so well for certain businesses. This business is certainly in a different cycle and has a different market. I would just, again, from my perspective, from town council perspective, we've got on our flags, on our signs everywhere, it says, Zionsville for all the right reasons. And what I would tell you from my perspective, that this is the right project for the right town and Creekside is the right location. Thank you.
Well, I guess I'll start our discussion. I too am in favor of this project. I echo a lot of what was just said. I think that there are many mistakes that have been made in the past from Zionsville's perspective. I think this is a project that we should move forward with. I think that the movement of the PUD and a negotiation on the LOI could be done in tandem and could be done starting tomorrow. I know that the Rahal group really wants to move forward. I think it's a great thing that Zionsville as a community would be able to hang their hat on in the future. I think it's a mistake if we let it go dry right now. I encourage the RDC to consider moving forward on it. I really believe that we should. I don't want to do anything that would harm the deal with the Rahal project, but I don't know. I'd like to hear what you guys think.
I'm happy to go next. I share some of the concerns that have been expressed by Denise, and her latest letter of this evening for me tells me that we need to gather a little more information to better understand her concerns. And importantly, I think we should protect the interests of the people that came first and against the current PUD. So I want them to be in Zionsville too. I think it's a very interesting project. Is that the right location? I don't know. But I think we need to, at least in respect to Denise being kind of the founding member of Creekside, we need to hear more from her. And she met, I think, Friday with Graham, and after that generated this letter that obviously she feels she has increasing concerns. So I need more information.
And what information do we need about, exactly what more information do we need? I think DK Pierce is absolutely an anchor in Creekside. And if they have some questions about what's going on, I absolutely want to entertain everything that they might have a concern with. Having said that, I'm not sure that not moving forward today is the right move. There is going to be lots of time for public comment. There will be lots of time for to find out what exactly DK wants to talk about. I don't know that that there's any reason in my mind not to move forward. If we vote on something tonight and we move it forward, it's not a done deal. We're only voting that we negotiate the LOI, and the PUD is probably not going to be finished until July. Is that correct, Jason?
Yes.
So although there's a lot of moving pieces to this deal, to stop the momentum of it right now, I think is a mistake. I certainly don't want to, again, I don't want to put forward anything that would hurt the project, but we're talking 3 months if we're waiting just on the PUD. And I don't know that that's the question. I think that moving forward, engaging DK Pierce, figuring out what the Plan Commission and the Town Council want to do with the PUD, and figuring out all of those things is something that we should do currently. hopefully we can get those things done and bring that project into Creekside. If it doesn't happen and the public doesn't want it, or we vote against it down the line, I mean, I guess that's the way it goes, but I really would encourage us to move forward with negotiations if we can.
So I have a question just procedurally, and maybe this is a question for Wayne, but what does voting to proceed tonight? I mean, I don't have a vote, obviously, but what does that entail? Will it come back around in front of this body, or if we vote yes today, it's off and running and we don't touch it again? How does that work?
It actually sounds more like a legal question than a procedural question. Certainly, noting Heather James, your attorney, trying to see if she's online.
Oh, is Heather here? No. Okay. Yeah.
If anybody wants to hear about my 2015 Toyota Sienna while we wait, I can just, no? Okay.
Fascinating.
All right, Heather's on.
Can you hear me? Can't see anybody yet.
Heather, thank you.
Yay.
Okay, I can't see anybody, but that's okay. As long as you can hear me, I suppose.
We can hear
So-
you. That's fine.
All right, great. So the question was just, so I can't see anybody, so I'm not sure who's speaking, but I think the question was, will this come back before this body, meaning the Redevelopment Commission, if you vote to move forward on negotiating the term sheet? Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. So it is the prerogative of the Redevelopment Commission to negotiate it. So yes, if you decide to have some number of the Redevelopment Commission members to take the lead on negotiating the term sheet, then you can still come back together as a full Redevelopment Commission and vote on, taking actual action. Yes, it'll come back before the whole body.
So I guess that's kind of my point in that I think that negotiations, let's go. Let's figure out what DK Pierce wants. Let's not drag our feet. I just, I've seen too many projects in Zionsville in the 22 years that I've been here die. And this is a good project. And we ought to move forward. We ought to try as hard as we possibly can to move the negotiations forward. That's all I got.
I guess I'll speak up now. This has been a tough project for me to wrap my head around, because obviously it's an awesome business. Graham is amazing. It's so interesting hearing about what he's done and, what he's created. I think it's an exciting business. I do think it's a destination, but I hesitate that it's in the right spot, because I feel like, even though I know the economy is changing and Creekside is not going to be exactly what we wanted it to be 10 years ago, I still feel like we have promised those people that are in there now that it will be a corporate headquarters park. It's called Corporate Creekside Park. And then this may go through and it could be awesome, but I hesitate for just to make sure that this really is the best place for that development. I can't say enough good things about it. I think it would be awesome for our town. I just think, when we're trying to create a corporate park, I think about all of the years and effort and infrastructure that's been put into it, that we abandon that plan now. When I look at the map of all of the interest we have in Creekside right now, it's thrilling to see how many of those lots we have interest in. And I think that we could fill it with the right corporate headquarters type model. instead of this, which is really deviates from the original plan. It's just my thoughts. You're welcome.
This project, the Graham Murray Hall project, is a corporate headquarters. So it definitely meets that standard. You know, again, well, I'll let somebody else should probably have an opportunity. I don't know if Jacqueline wants to say anything or not.
Wayne, did you get a chance to talk with the group 1001?
We do interface often with Bradford Allen. That's the entity's name. That is a property management company for Group 1001. Yes, they are aware of this project and they will be working through the review of that and will participate as they desire in the future public process. But I have no information. I can just acknowledge that they are aware, at least the property management company is aware of all of the projects that are going on in Creekside at this point.
Because, because they are technically part of Creekside, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. So they would also have a potential impact. So I think gathering the input, the full impact is important, because I agree, as Kate mentioned, like, just because something bright and shiny comes along doesn't mean that we throw 10 years of planning and effort out the window. I've seen this in the corporate world time again, where, you start to get short-sighted because you're afraid of a missed opportunity, but all it does is derail from your long-term goal. And so I just think that we need to be considerate of the millions of dollars that have already been invested there before we jump forward.
I know we had Graham do a presentation last month. Wayne, just for this month's meeting, can you go through the types of businesses that have been proposed here? I could try, but I may not hit them all. I'm putting you on the spot now.
Certainly. So in Creekside itself, currently, Lot 1 does not have a prospect looking at it.
I'm sorry.
All right.
What I'm asking is the Graham Ray Hall proposal.
Oh, the mix of uses.
The mixed use of businesses and what would need to happen from a rezoning PUD standpoint.
So the broader picture is there are many lots in Creekside that are zoned for office use, and a retail component can be an accessory use to that office use. In this particular case, lots 10, 11 would be almost solely occupied by retail as the predominant use. Yes, there would be an office component of some nature, and that retail component is the various business interests of Mr. Rahal and the various brands that he is associated with, and more as the entity grows. But at the same time, there is a separate retail building that at this point, the site plan shows as a restaurant with an outdoor component and 2 other future tenant spaces that could be whatever uses as permitted by the PUD. There are opportunities there as well for flex retail, if you will. Does that
sure? And then the main building would exclude. So
the main building is described as automobile sales, certainly high-end automobiles, motorcycle sales. Ducati is the brand that's mentioned. Storage of vehicles that are owned by other entities for purposes at that facility. Certainly upkeep, maintenance, enhancements, other vehicle type enhancements as well.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.
So I guess I'll ask this question to Wayne. 10 years ago, before I was on the board, when Creekside was thought up, what exactly was the tenant of it? What was sold to DK Pierce? Because I don't know that I've ever heard those specific things put forward.
So in essence, that the answer to your question lies within the 2012 Economic Development Strategic Plan. That was a plan that the town worked on, I believe, for 18 months, adopting that in 2012, and it identified the Creekside parcel, which was not known as Creekside at that time, but identified that large parcel for research, development, office, retail. I don't recall being a component of that discussion. I'm certainly working to pull up on at least my computer here, a copy of that document. But that effort there, the town again spent 18 months to create that plan based on community input. And then from there, in that same breath, December of 12 through partly into 13, the purchase discussion of that land occurred, ultimately closing May 23rd, 2013.
And then when did DK Pierce start in there?
DK Pierce was when they first started construction.
When they decided they wanted to move in, what was that, 2013 or 14 or?
DK Pierce was a result of an outreach effort that we had through the chamber. Actually, Deputy Mayor Julie Johns Cole was integral to that process where Denise was identified through a conversation and other data as interested in enhancing her footprint in Zionsville. She was at a location at 9th and Oak at that time, 8th and Oak, I believe. And certainly probably about a year out, began thinking about Creekside, certainly in there about, I think 14, 15, we were working on the development plans of that. And she signed a purchase agreement with the RDC even before the park was completed. And I remember this because we had post-closing obligations within the purchase agreement for delivery of the road, water, all the infrastructure. We did the groundbreaking driving back on a dirt road.
And so that, what year was that? So 14, 15?
I could pull up our
Okay,
Facebook
all right.
page. I don't remember.
All right, it's not necessarily a salient point, but so the PUD that's on there now that we are, that potentially would be adjusted has some retail component in it, correct?
The PUD as it's written, yes, it's
On Creekside.
it supports retail on lot 9 as a predominant use, and it supports retail on lots 10 and 11 as an accessory use, and could be others. I don't remember offhand.
So I guess then I'm not really sure what the pushback is from as far as Graham's project and the retail side of it. I mean, I think from the beginning that there's been some notion that there was going to be there could be a retail component in Creekside. Am I correct in that, Wayne, or not?
Correct. I mean, the 2012 Economic Strategic Plan talked about office, research, technology district. So that's where the Creekside Corporate Park is located. Certainly in the design of the PUD document, it was very much recognized that service retail was something that was desirable throughout the park. And the PUD itself structured the larger lots to be able to be an office building, but with for example, a first floor retail component, such as a coffee, bank, restaurant, just something that was ancillary, secondary to the predominant use of the property, which was to be whatever the other uses were.
Gotcha. So
in the PUD.
So not a main use is what the crux of this issue is. The Graham Rahal project.
If that's a use, if that's a crux of an issue being described by the other members.
No. What I'm suggesting is that the retail component in the PUD that currently exists, the main issue is that it can't be fully retail.
Right. That would be modified through the PUD process.
And then that would be modified.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I guess what my point is that retail has always been a possibility for Creekside. And if that is one of the sticking points for board members, I would suggest that it's kind of always been there. Now we have to adjust that, and the town council has said, hey, we would like to do that. So again, I really encourage everyone to move forward. And I guess I don't understand why we couldn't move forward. And I'll ask this question to Heather. If we were to vote on it or a motion was moved forward and it was denied, it doesn't mean that we can't come back at it at a later date. Is that correct, Heather?
Yeah, that's correct.
Wait, say that again, Kim?
So
I missed that.
even if a motion is put forward, and let's just say, for argument's sake, it gets voted down, that we still could come back to it if we had to. Now, I don't necessarily want to do that, but I think that
use them before then.
that's my point.
Yeah.
That's my point. If we don't do anything, we could lose them. So I think that's kind of what Josh was saying. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think that's kind of what the town council's position is. Please.
Yeah, I mean, I think the town council's position, I don't want to speak for the councilors here, Councilor Trailer is joined as well, but is, these are time-bound opportunities that other communities I know are salivating to get from us, right? I mean, I'm sure I've heard Carmel, he's in Brownsburg today. They would love to keep him. If this body says no, or even if this body today says, well, let's think about it a little bit more, if I'm him, and I will never speak for him, I'm going to start thinking, well, there's a lack of commitment here. I don't know that I can wait on the PUD process and then the negotiation process because he is busting at the seams. I visited his facility. I would encourage you to visit it too. It's awesome. If this body says, and I would encourage, let's enter in negotiations, I think all the concerns that have been raised today are all valid concerns, whether it is from DK Pierce and her investment in our community, getting weigh in from the other tenant today on the 1001 group, other concerns that have been brought up. Those should all be discussed with Mr. Rahal and listen to his answers. And if those answers need to be adjusted, put it into negotiation. And if he is so inflexible, the negotiation just doesn't work and he's had his answer, but at least we had a good faith approach to do it. What the council has said is that there are changes that have happened in the world over the last 10 years, it's a bit of an understatement, that we, and I'm going to say the mayor included, would like to make to this PUD. So we were going to start this process by making changes to accommodate Mr. Rahal's request, but there are other requests, and Wayne, keep me honest here, that have come from administration and or staff that said, if we made these small tweaks all at once, it will be good for Creekside, it will be good for the entire community. So while you're entering into those good faith negotiations, not only with this, but some of our other petitioners we have today, allow us to go through that process. It's a public process. It involves the planning commission. There's public comment opportunity there. It involves town council. There's public opportunity comment there. If there's a lot of community pushback, that certainly will be taken account on our behalf. And if at the end of the day, Mr. Rahal can answer your questions as a part of the negotiation, and you will do your best to come up with the best deal for the town. That's not just a financial statement, but it is a package statement. We will do our best to come up with the best PUD changes for the town. If those both work and go in parallel, to Member Ezra's point, that all should be complete around July 4th meeting. The negotiations are complete. We can pass the PUD. If you're satisfied, you can pass the negotiation, and hopefully we return that project. If you continue to postpone and we start down the PUD process and we're done in July, and then you see there's a willingness of the community to do that, and you start entering into negotiations, I'm not confident that Mr. Rahal will wait around that time frame because of his business and how at capacity it is to go through that process. So I appreciate the point to clarify that, but that was kind of perhaps what I was not very eloquently stating earlier.
So, and to Jacqueline, to your point, you said we would be kind of throwing 10 years of whatever away. And in my opinion, I don't think we are. I think that there's always been a retail component, a possibility of a retail component in Creekside. And although it's, we have to adjust it to be a main use, I think that, it's really, I don't know that we've really changed anything. I keep hearing that, we're going to hurt DK Pierce and that, and I just haven't, I don't understand how.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No,
interrupt
no,
you.
please,
Finish?
please, please,
Okay.
please.
When we had the executive session this morning, Mr. Rahal characterized a meeting that he had had with Denise.
That's privileged. I don't think we can talk about that. That was an executive session. Isn't that
Oh.
privileged?
I
Yeah.
apologize.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we have emails that describe that Graham was on a Zoom call with what's called the Zionsville Business Advocacy Group. So that is knowledge.
My apologies. The letter clearly states that she has concerns and questions, and out of respect for her, and I know that she has gathered information from various parties. And if she still has questions, we haven't done a great job of addressing those questions. And so I don't want to think about it, to use your characterization. I would like her to have an opportunity to get her questions addressed.
So if we move, let's just for argument's sake, say we vote to negotiate the LOI, how does that stop DK Pierce from being involved in any way, shape, or form in those negotiations? If there's a codicil that we need to put in and the group agrees to it and it, adheres to what DK Pierce wants, that would move things forward. If the LOI doesn't reach those things that matter to DK Pierce, you guys can still vote against it.
I think that would be very hard to negotiate if Denise is contesting the usage of the space. It's going to be hard to come to a compromise on the
How do we
usage
know
of
what she's
space.
contesting? I mean,
Yeah,
we don't know.
and I do know she has had a chance to talk to him, so that's good. But didn't feel like her questions were fully answered.
Right, clearly from this communication.
So again, I
personally am not objecting to retailing. I just want to clarify that point.
Sure.
I'm just saying, obviously, there again are evidence of concerns. And without knowing the group 1001 stance either, it seems to me like we've been put in this place with a artificial time pressure put against it.
that's fair.
And so, all we're saying is we would like the proper time to gather the proper input. But if that's not acceptable to everyone else, let's put it to a vote.
And I guess I want to reiterate that I believe that those issues can be talked about, figured out, and still move forward with negotiations in a good faith manner.
We're not saying that it can't be done. We're saying we would like a little more time for some more input.
I don't, we're going to have 3 months before the PUD even potentially gets finished. So to Josh's recommendation, we could do all of that in tandem. We would have 3 months.
I guess my question was, why did we have to wait till this morning to have the executive session when we could have had this weeks ago and had more time to get input prior to this meeting?
Availability.
Right. Yeah, I think it was, scheduling.
I know schedules are hard.
Yeah.
So why did it bump up like this? Again, this is an artificial deadline that.
Well, I think, the other issue there is that, the Rahal Group has been trying to do this for more than 18 months. So.
But it just came to us a month ago, right?
Theoretically, yeah.
It's the first I heard of it.
I hate that it took that long. I don't understand.
I think it's been something that they've been trying to do in different forms and fashions. So.
I also think it's unfortunate that, this one parcel is the only parcel that's under consideration. We all agree, everyone in the town agrees, it's a great project for Zionsville. We would love to see it here. Why is this the only 2 parcels of land out of how many acres do we have, Wayne?
I can tell you in square miles, 68.
There you go. Out of 68 square miles, why are these 2 parcels of land the only ones that are acceptable?
I can't answer that question.
And I appreciate the discussion to all RDC members, and I share some of your excitement, Kent, from Graham being committed to the town and wanting to establish, his family here and his business here. I also share some of the concerns that we have in terms of allowing DK Pierce a full opportunity, Group 1001, and also the land use. So we've had great discussion. If anyone would like to move this item forward, please feel free to do so.
I would like to move that we figure out exactly what the issues are with DK Pierce and Creekside, and try and work those positions out in a very timely manner. And then if possible, reconvene as quickly as we can, 2-3 weeks or whatever before our next meeting, to see if we can address those concerns. Is that something that we can do?
Sure.
That's valid, yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll move that we negotiate or reach out to DK Pierce, figure out exactly what they would like to do.
Might as well add group 1001.
Grouped out everyone in Creekside, that we figure out exactly what their concerns are. I know that there are many issues that we have to figure out, but let's say, I don't know what an appropriate time frame is, but I don't know, 2 weeks. Is that fair?
Depending on availability. yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to close it down either, but as quickly as we can, figure out what all those particular concerns are. And I believe, I'll just leave that motion. I'll put that on there.
Can you play it back?
That's a long
So we
motion.
have a motion to continue conversations with other property owners within Creekside Corporate Park.
In a
to
timely
receive
manner.
Feedback and input in regards to land use and in particular the GRP proposal that's in front of us.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, any
And-
discussion?
Oh, yes, I have a question. So are we able to vote on this before our next scheduled meeting?
We can have a special RDC meeting.
And we
if
can vote
needed.
during that
Yes.
executive session?
Not an executive session, we would have a
special
a
meeting.
special meeting.
Okay.
Special
Off-
meeting.
Off kilter with our
Okay,
typical
And we could
rhythm.
potentially bring Graham's group here on that meeting once we figure out what the issues are and have more of a discussion and hopefully move forward as quickly as we can.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
Just one point of, just to comment that the letter says, reach out to my council with your questions. So we should probably reach out to the council that's listed.
Yes,
and
thank you for that
expressly say,
clarification for DK Pierce.
good point.
and I guess the other comment is, we know that other groups are bringing ideas before. I mean, the school district has a vested interest in seeing projects show up because we were part of the original creation of the corporate park, and there's incentives that are time limited that help sort of make the school district whole on the back end of this deal, that run, the clock's running out on some of that stuff and progress has been slow in getting it filled. That's not a pitch to short circuit this in any way, just to say, I'd love for the other folks who are interested in lots within the park to sort of maybe in that process give their thoughts also about, would this deter them in moving forward, or is this something they would be excited to see down the road from what they would like to do? So just a couple thoughts since I don't
Absolutely,
get to
thank you for
vote.
that.
Mike, can I ask a question? What is the timeline for the incentives for the school district? And what exactly is the incentive?
I hesitate because I wasn't around for it, but I believe it's between 2021 and 2029. Once the income coming in is able to cover 150% of the bonds, there's a 50% pass through to the school district up till a certain point in 2029.
Okay.
but that's probably very wrong. So.
And that
it's-
pass-through has started. We
Yeah.
made 3 payments at this point,
Okay,
about $71,000 a half,
okay,
give or take.
thanks.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
have one more thing.
Related to item
To what we just voted on. I guess somebody on this board is gonna have to lead those, figure out, what the issues are. So, I don't know if you want to address that now or you want to do it later. It's fine
I
with me.
mean, I am happy to participate with one other member.
I'm happy to do that as well.
Great, thank you.
All right. Thank you for that discussion. We also have a term sheet from, for lots 2 and 3 from Louth Inc. Is there anyone here that'd like to present? Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Brady Jacoba with Loth. This is my colleague Ryan Thomas, also with Loth. When we appeared before the RDC last month, we quite frankly didn't know what to expect. So I apologize. I was kind of ill prepared, but I have put together a short presentation that I'd enjoy sharing with
Sure,
you folks,
absolutely.
if I could tonight.
And I would like to thank you for your initial contact last month and also the follow-up conversation we had a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, thank you as well. Again, this is just a quick presentation. I figured if we're going to be doing business together, if Loth's going to have a presence in Zionsville, we can't assume that you know who we are. So I just want to tell you a little bit about us, and certainly take any questions if necessary before we get into the meat of the term sheet. We've been around. We're in our 46th year of doing business. Located in Carmel, have done projects coast to coast, several $1 billion worth of projects across the coast, from coast to coast. Over the past few years, we have been very focused on the Midwest and in particular in Central Indiana. There are a few projects I'd like to share with you so you can see the quality of development and construction that Loth does. This first example is the Agora, which is our office building. It's a 100,000 square foot office building that we constructed and delivered in October of 2019. 2019, it's home to, of course, our headquarters as well as Vallejo, Schwarz, and a couple of other tenants. It's part of the Proscenium development at the corner of Range Line Road and Carmel Drive in Carmel. So we're very proud of this development. We constructed the Braden building, Braden's corporate headquarters in Fishers, and delivered that. I believe that was 2018 or maybe 2017 that we delivered that, but it's obviously a very eye-catching building. The client was very happy. It's in the municipal district of downtown Fishers, and we kind of think it's the jewel. We're a little bit biased, but we kind of think it's the jewel of downtown Fishers. This is handy. We'll talk a little bit. We're talking about the project today will most likely be more of a medical office building, a one-story medical office building, but I think I referred to it as more of a professional services building. We're going to design it with flexibility and versatility in mind. So while we do have a dentist that we believe wants to be a tenant there, and we've talked to a second dentist as well as an orthodontist, again, it could be a professional services building. So an attorney, a CPA, financial advisor, et cetera. But I did want to touch on a couple of the healthcare projects that we've done. And we've done many, many of them, but a couple of the most recent ones that we've done are the Hancock Wellness Center in McCordsville. And, looking at this picture here, this kind of, to me, and again, just one man's opinion, looks like something that might fit in Creekside. So as we're looking at the design and we don't have this building, there's no rendering yet. We don't have drawings put together yet because we haven't made those investments yet. But we're thinking that with what's in Creekside today with DK Pierce and some of the other developments we've seen proposed that kind of has that stone earth tone. We feel like something like this would fit very well inside Creekside. This is Bon Secours. It's another medical facility that we did in Virginia a few years ago. It's a cancer center, so very complex inside the box development and construction. And I just want to show you this again as an innovative design that we put out there, but also, we're very capable of doing things that are quite frankly much more complex than what we're proposing for Creekside. But we treat all our projects the same way with the same care and attention to detail. And this is coming soon. This is First on Main, which is a development that we're doing on the corner of Range Line Road and Main Street in downtown Carmel. For those of you that are familiar with downtown Carmel, it's the old PNC lot, which is about 1.8 acres, I believe. 1.7 acres. It will feature 70,000 square feet of office, a 300-car parking garage, 35 multifamily units, a little bit of first floor retail, including probably a restaurant, and then 8. That's why I have Ryan here. 8 townhomes to round out the development. So we're very excited about that. So I just want to share that with you a little bit so that you kind of see what we do on a daily basis and that you feel comfortable working with us on a development Creekside. The next slide I have up here is the plot plan that we put together for the development. It might be a little difficult for you to see, but essentially it's just under 30,000 square feet. This is, as I mentioned last month, it's kind of the dock in the box. So you have just under 5,000 square feet per unit as it's contemplated today, 6 total units, and each would have its own individual entrance. And then also a rear access drive with access from the rear so that the doctor or the lawyer, et cetera, or the employees are not coming in the front door with the patients. They can come in the back as well as deliveries, et cetera. So we think it's a really well thought out building for lot 2 and 3. And I will point out that, we have developed a lot of master plan parks throughout the year, roughly 50 of them, and done, again, a lot of projects. And we've been looking at Creekside for quite some time. We met with Wayne a few years ago, met with Mayor Styron a couple years ago. So we know this park well, and we obviously are very interested in it, or we wouldn't be here tonight. But I will also say that this park, a lot of these sites have some considerable development challenges, geometry, topography, et cetera. So we feel like this is a perfect project for these 2 particular lots. You wouldn't do a 2-story traditional office building because you wouldn't have the depth to do that. Where it sits, obviously you wouldn't want to have a bunch of retail because you just don't have the traffic. So we feel like it's a really good fit, and we think this is the right design. This last slide that I put up here, and Ryan's got the board behind that as well. These are just some other ideas that when we looked on it. Quite frankly, I spent about way too long on the internet one day pulling some pictures of designs that we thought might fit within Creekside. And so you can get an idea as far as a couple of the structures. For example, the one in the lower left hand corner has the separate entrances. The top left corner has separate entrances. So that's why I put those up there. But the others just seem to have kind of that feel that I think Creekside elicits from its design and the natural surroundings there. So just short presentation. I appreciate your time taking a look at that.
Thank you. Any questions in regards to the term sheet that's been presented in front of you? Draft term sheet, I guess.
And this was negotiated with you and
So
Sasha?
nothing has been negotiated.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Louth provided using this, I'll use quote, standard Zionsville template for a term sheet.
Okay,
They provided this term sheet for consideration by the RDC.
okay.
So are you looking for a motion to enter into some negotiations
Yes.
as in the past? Okay, so moved.
I'll second.
A motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you. So Wayne will be in touch. And I guess we should appoint a couple of folks to move that forward as well. I'm happy to help.
I can volunteer to help as well.
myself and Kate. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. New business, we have letter of intent from Kendall Properties, again from Creekside Corporate Park.
Name is J.R. Kendall. I live at 520 West Sycamore Street. So Kendall Property Group, my dad was my partner in our company. He started the company in 1988 as mainly a third-party construction company and also a development company for projects that he was doing. So over those years, he built all different types of products, a lot of build-to-suit properties for businesses that were, say, an owner wants to own the building and then run it back to his company. So over the years, we built limited service hotels, quite a few of those in the 90s, and then storage facilities. I joined the company 17 years ago, moved to Zionsville just before I got married, just 9 years ago, and planned to raise our kids here. My parents followed us and moved to the village a few years after that, and they live right on 6th Street, just north of us. So Creekside has obviously been on my radar for a long time. Our offices have been in the College Park area since 1992. So as we've moved north into Zionsville, we've been looking for a good place to move our offices north. Our company has been growing with the acceleration of multifamily development over the last few years. And so we're looking for a nicer custom space for our company. Lot 9 has been the lot that I've wanted to develop for quite a few years. And my first take in talking with Wayne at the PUD calls for, I think, kind of a retail, coffee, it mentions coffee shops, distillery, so on the first floor with professional office on the second. With construction costs these days, a retail user today with retail is costing about $200 a square foot to build. So the retail customer today is usually a national tenant. Most of them are, that are out there active are looking for a drive-through. Starbucks is kind of the example that everybody uses, but the mom and pop coffee shop, and with construction prices today, I think that's a really tough niche to find that can service and pay the price that you need to get with current pricing. So anyways, our interest is, if the PUD is going to go under some kind of changes, we would like to build 2 single-story multi-tenant office buildings on this property. We've laid it out in our LOI. We just have done some very preliminary work and have laid it out with 2 9,600 square foot buildings. We would take half of the first building, which would be the western building. And then we too see this site as being kind of the professional service oriented type businesses where, somebody needs visibility so the client can find their office easily, but they don't need to be on Main Street, I guess is what I'm saying. So we see the accountant types, lawyers, real estate offices, so on, being our target tenants for that property. So we're just kind of getting started in this process. We like the lot, and if the town is willing to move forward with the PUD changes, we'd certainly like to be a part of it. And as mentioned earlier, the acceleration of that park has been something that's really driven us to want to be there for the long-term investment. I think it's some great momentum. I'm happy to answer any questions I can.
I have a question, but my question would be to Wayne, actually. Isn't lot 9 kind of already set up for what this proposal is? Lot 9, petition or the party that's speaking and pursuing this is looking for general office on the first floor.
Okay, so
And
that's what the.
to have that
difference is.
flexibility. And the PUD specifically prohibits that
On lot nine.
on lot 9,
Okay.
which is
I
the
get confused.
opposite of the lot 10, 11 conversation.
Right. I'm sorry, I just.
We should probably trade.
It's confusing.
Perfectly confusing, yep.
Okay, great. That was my question.
My question is, so you said that the one building you would split in half with your business and another, or do you foresee? And then on the second building, how many type, I don't even call them tenants, have you decided yet how many tenants or?
The direction we're going would be to put 2 entrances on each building so that it could be split into either 4 or 2.
Okay,
2 multi-tenant buildings.
got it. Thank you.
The action in front of the board tonight is to consider a vote to enter into negotiation, knowing that it could be a lengthy negotiation while we wait to see what happens with the PUD review process. Just so I'm right about that, I'm curious. That's a question that I didn't phrase in the form of a question.
I appreciate the question and maybe it's a clarification. So he's suggesting that he would come back after the zoning was clear. But I think in previous conversations, it seems like we were moving forward without that. So
Which we haven't moved forward.
fair, yeah, but
I
just
mean,
generically.
Right. in
Generically.
Certain instances, we may have a little bit.
Okay.
I think, and I appreciate the letter of intent and, your desire to be on lot 9. I think lot 9 is a premier lot within Creekside Corporate Park that had a vision of, 2-story retail office. This obviously is a diversion from that. I think the RDC board needs to consider that, but I would also, if the board desires a motion to further negotiations or discussions. If that were to happen, I would recommend that you take a look at our standard term sheet and consider using that format.
I'll make a motion. Then we move forward.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
We have a term sheet from Tress from lots 4 and 5.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew Hurd. I'm with Tress LLC and Joy Skidmore with me as well, engineer on the project. Got a short presentation just, regarding what Tress is, what we are, and what we'd like to do within Zionsville. I've personally lived in Zionsville for about 12 years now. My wife and our family. We live in the village and are excited about the new business we're starting. Don't have a massive track history to tell you about, unfortunately, yet, but we're keen to start this business and we're keen to have it located here in Zionsville if at all possible. So if we can move on to the first slide, please. So Tress is a swimming pool safety cover business, not like many pool covers you'll have seen before. It's actually a hardscape. The idea is that it addresses primarily safety aspects of existing pool covers. It's a fully usable hardscaped area when it's closed, so £40 per square foot, low capacity, means you can have dinner on it, play games on it, park a car on it if you wished, whatever. We just produced our first prototype of this and working on the second one, and looking for where we can develop the engineering, develop the products, and assemble the products going forwards. We're looking to be able to grow the business without having to relocate. So looking to build a building that is larger than our current requirements, hopefully get some rental income off that space, and then allow us to grow into it as time allows, as the company grows. So yeah, there's just a couple of pictures there that show the type of product that we have, that show in the fact that it can be used, it can be set to any depth you want. It's also one of the things that's certainly very unique about our product is that it's an R30 insulation. So it's very environmentally friendly and allows you to use the pool all season long. Our kids were, well, this weekend was not the best example, but there was a snow day recently from school and our kids and the neighbours were all in the pool having snowball fights. So for this environment, it's great that it makes it an all year round amenity. Just jump to the next slide if we may. It just shows it in action. So quite a good day to demonstrate the functionality of it. So it's a platform that basically just lowers down into the pool. You stop it at any depth that you want. So if you've got small kids, they can just play around in it, being a few feet deep or a foot deep, or you can have it just as a reflecting pool, a few inches deep. So it's kind of a unique product, obviously a very high-end product, a lot more expensive than other pool covers on the market, but we feel that it's it's a product that there's a market for, and this is a great area for us to be with it. It's where we are and where we want to stay. So if we can move on to the next slide, please. So we're proposing to be able to make use of lots 4 and 5. Lot 5 is basically landlocked, so hence the reason of looking at developing both 4 and 5 at the same time. We're I guess, sympathetic to the current requirements of the PUD for it to be more of an office park. And so what we're proposing is to, on the street frontage, is to build an office building. We do have some tenants we're talking to that are very interested in moving into, again, kind of professional services office building in that front building. And then us occupying some of the space in the rear building shown here, with hopefully the potential to grow. And again, we're talking to other tenants for that flex space type of building, which we try and limit, or we limit the uses to what's currently covered within the PUD, those kind of functions within that space. Obviously, what we do will bring income to the community. There is a little bit of a sting in lot 5 in that there is a stormwater issue that needs to be resolved. We're very aware of that. Those sort of issues seem to find me. I've worked on a couple of those in the village already. So hopefully got a bit of a track record on us being able to sort through that. But obviously that's something we're aware that needs to be worked on. If we can move on to the final slide, please. So again, what we're looking at here is us using maybe 3,000 to 5,000 square feet of the space initially. As the demand for our product grows, as the company grows, we can expand into more of the space. Potential that ultimately we could be headquartered in the office up front and then use all the space behind. So it's kind of designed as a little bit of a campus, if you like, in that respect. So the front office and then the flex space behind, which could become a facility for all the assembly, engineering, R&D work. The schedule we have here, maybe we can accelerate some just based on what we're hearing today on the potential for the PUD to be worked through by July, PUD changes, which, we've got some minor changes that we'd need changes to the PUD, but that's what we'd like to start negotiating as part of a term letter. So that's why we're here.
What would the changes be that you would be interested in changing?
Honestly, it's a little bit unclear. One of them is the use of you don't call them docks, a bay, for trucks to enter or to unload at, which obviously the Rahal building has some of those already. So I'm not too sure whether that's already been approved. Joy, can you help me on what the others might be? I'm forgetting now. So, oh, it's the cross lot line.
Yeah, some cross lot line things. So if there's an owner, if it's the same owner on both lots, there's some synergy there. And so not meeting the setbacks on some of that, if it's the same owner on both lots. I think we would want to introduce possibly for that back building, maybe another building material, and look at some other options that maybe in the last 10 years weren't options before or weren't affordable options before. And then there's some use with, or some language on the amount of office versus the amount of warehouse. And so given his type of use, we would look at maybe amending that percentage for this lot.
So I guess I have a question. I think you just already answered it, but I'm a little slow sometimes. So as the PUD currently sits, you need the adjustment that's coming theoretically in July. Okay.
So on the warehouse portion, I think is what I'm looking at. So the front would be the office building. And then the building behind, you've got a 12,000 square foot block and then 19,000 square foot block. Would those be leased to tenants at this time?
So partial of it, yes. The part that we don't occupy ourselves. And again, just to clarify, initially we would not be occupying the office at the front. We would have office space within that flex space building at the rear.
Okay.
So there'd be, I think we're looking at around 15% office space in that rear building as well as the front space or office, as well as the office in the front building, which we've put down as 8.5 or 17,000 square feet, depending if it's a single or two-level building.
Okay, so the 12,000 square foot block is where you would have the office space, the front block?
No, so, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I mean, that's just showing a potential for the partition, but basically it is a 43,000 square foot building that could be partitioned and used 15% office space and 85% other use for the prototype engineering and assembly of our product or
so you
other
would
uses.
fill that whole space?
We would
from the
not
beginning?
initially, no. We'd be looking at taking, it's hard to predict because we're just starting. So that's really where we've got to kind of figure out how much of it we would want. But it could be 5,000 square feet of the 40,000 for Tress initially, and look at getting tenants in the other spaces. And then as we grow, it's trying to predict how quickly we're going to grow and whether we want to enter into lease contracts on how much of the rest of that space as we go forwards.
So you're proposing, I don't want to put words in your mouth. What would be your initial building's footprint from day one of ribbon cutting?
So footprints would be as shown. We would build the entire buildings. It's how much of it we occupy. Is that the question? Or
Yes.
is it, okay, the occupancy, best guess right now is 5,000 to 8,000 square feet of the 40.
Of the 40.
Correct.
Plus, and you build the 17,000 square foot at the same
Correct.
time?
Or 8.5 to 17, depending on whether it's single or two-story. Correct.
Okay. And what is your assessed value? Typically, we see some of that data in the term sheet.
For the entire project, I think we're at around $12 million.
12 million?
Yeah.
That's a total investment. Now the AV will be probably lower than that typically is, but the total investment in the project right now is estimated at 12 million.
Good. And then in your term sheet, you have a potential number of full-time employees as an estimate. I don't see, and maybe I'm missing, I don't see a potential number of FTEs.
Yeah, I don't believe we have that in there at this point, so we can look at adding that.
Okay. Any additional questions for the term sheet from Tress?
Just, I think I heard you say that you had some folks potentially already interested in if you build that office space on the front part of the property. Okay.
Correct. We have interested parties for the office space in the front and for some of the space in the rear as well.
Okay.
Just kind of a horse and cart situation. So
Yeah.
we need to understand where the project's going before we really get deep into the negotiations, but definitely have had sit-down meetings with several.
How many loading docks and bays are proposed on this?
Big pardon?
How many loading bays are proposed on this?
I don't think that's fully defined yet. Depends on the tenants, to be honest. It's just per tenant's needs. I would imagine, I mean, at the moment there it's showing 5, but I would imagine it may end up being less than that, to be honest.
And you said you had one interested tenant in the warehouse space.
Actually, yeah, got a couple, yes.
Are you able to share what type of businesses?
So one of them is historic cars, high value historic cars that are then used to show around the country. So that's, for example, the end furthest west end, and that's why it's showing the vehicles inside. We're talking about very similar to the Team Rahal, they're haulers that will just head out once a week or once every couple of weeks to take vehicles to put on display and then bring them back. So it's kind of a closed museum, if you like, and they just maintain the vehicles and take them out to be on show at certain events and then bring them back so they need the storage space for that.
So that's the western 12,000 square foot of the building.
Correct,
too?
yes. Again, where they're actually located, we haven't, within the building, we've not really discussed with them. It's just the idea of them being on Creed side.
So I have a question about the development of the product itself. So it looks like you're really still in kind of prototyping, testing, validation of your technology.
Correct.
So assuming it's successful, then how would you envision moving to the next phase? Would that be well within this facility? Maybe you manufacture someplace else?
Yeah, I mean, it's just assembly. So it's light assembly. So we'd just be assembling them. I mean, the manufacturer at the moment, we're sourcing out. We're doing the final assemblies. Sometimes it probably goes straight to the site and be final assembled there. Other parts of it would be assembled, in this space and then go. And where we're looking at on the business plan in that is we're looking basically to try and take in orders later this year to start production in next year. So we'll have to find a temporary space prior to that. We'll need space, I believe, before this is available. Working out of home at the moment. So.
May I ask if your business is investor funded?
No, it's privately funded.
Okay. Have you sold any covers yet?
One a prototype, but it's sold,
great.
so it doesn't really count. But we're
It
working on
counts. It counts.
So no, we're excited for the potential of it for sure.
I'm envisioning a retention pond with a floor that rides for additional
We'd love
parking.
to have the ability to demonstrate it within the building or something. Yeah, like a drawbridge when they come in. They can't leave until they bought one. So.
Any other questions? Well, there are a lot of moving parts in your proposal.
There are.
And there are a lot of moving parts in your prospective development in terms of tenants and building occupancy. And then also we have the zoning issue to work through. Having said all that, I will entertain a motion to continue conversations with Tress LLC, if so desired by the RDC.
I'll make that motion.
Motion and a second, and before we move forward, I think we should assign 2 individuals to do that. Because it's come after our motion the last 2 times.
I'll volunteer again if you want someone to negotiate.
I'm happy to participate. So that's Kate and Sanjay.
Okay.
To continue conversations with Tress. We have a motion and then, we have a motion? Not yet.
Yes.
We had a motion and a second, yep.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have one final letter of intent for Creekside Corporate Park, which is lot number 7. Now, this is what has been shared with us 5 minutes before
10 minutes
our meeting. So I will let you know that this has not been reviewed or digested by.
I
the RDC
understand.
At any level.
That has been
But
fully processed in the last.
We'd love to
5
hear
hours.
about your project.
Absolutely.
And maybe provide some next steps for you.
Yeah, so I am partner of EO Advisors. We are an investment merchant bank based here in Indianapolis, currently working out of office space in Carmel. I live in Zionsville, 5682 Upper Garden Way in the Inglenook neighborhood off of Zionsville Road, those colorful cottages. So very close to Creekside.
Can you move towards the microphone? I know when I
Oh, sorry.
watch these at home, I can't
Yeah.
hear when people, thank you.
So I'm a resident, got 3 toddlers, not quite in school yet, but they'll be going to Eagle someday soon. We are partnering with Plow Digital. EO again is an investment merchant bank. Plow is a UX design firm that does kind of heavy engineering, computer engineering, and design work, very creative minded. They have offices in Carmel now. They exited offices downtown due to COVID. Their primary offices again is kind of Midtown Carmel. We're partnering with them to kind of house 2 headquarters, each about 20 employees. Also would have some flex and event space. Likely 20,000 square feet. We've partnered with Delve on the initial kind of design work. So we are engaged with them currently, putting together kind of site outlines, and we'll have renderings hopefully, in the next couple months. We've also met with the guys at Law to discuss the construction phase and what that would require. So kind of well on the way with planning, putting a plan in place. Candidly, I had no idea what was going to be required to get this actual space in Creekside. So I'm learning as I go, including, turning over an LOI in 5 hours. So that's where we are today. Very enthusiastic though about the spot. I've looked at Creekside for, 10 years, always loved walking through there and would love to have an office back there for my firm.
So you said 2 different headquarters?
There's 2 headquarters, 1 entrance. We would share the space. The firms are very similar in terms of how we work. A lot of open space, a lot of conference rooms for personal discussions and whatnot, some event space where we could have kind of pitch competitions and conferences and lectures and whatnot. So the work we do, although it is, so we focus on software and engineering firms, software and technology firms. They are a software and technology firm. So there's a lot of overlap in terms of kind of clientele, kind of groups we work with. And again, how we work, it's very open, it's very collaborative. So
They would both be in the same building?
the same building, they probably have the design right now, the intent is to have 2 separate kind of spaces with a lot of kind of commingling space in the middle, shared resources, shared conference rooms, shared, kitchen space, shared event space, single entrance, 2 distinct kind of offices inside them.
And both of these companies are located where now?
Carmel,
They're both in
Midtown.
Carmel,
Yeah.
okay.
And we've both actually been looking for space in Zionsville, and there candidly isn't a lot. And that's where this kind of idea got spun up.
And did you say 20,000 square?
20,000 square feet. Yeah, so we'd each probably take 75. The remainder would be an open kind of event space.
How many employees for both?
Total will be 20 each. We are smaller than that today, but that's kind of what we'll grow into. That's the plan. They're already at 22, but a number of those were kind of remote. So
Can you ballpark what their wages are?
yeah, so that's gonna be hard for Plow, candidly. You would have to ask Greg. Likely 120 for them. For us, it's going to be 200 plus on average.
It's a great use for the space. Love to see more tech come to Zionsville.
we would too. Yeah, that's kind of the intent.
Yeah.
So.
Any more questions?
I realize, I understand that you said it was thrown together quickly, and I appreciate that, but Will there be like a spec type design like we have on some of these other proposals? Will that be forthcoming?
I think Delve is working on it.
So what we're looking to get is effectively just exclusivity on the space so that we can actually spend the money to do all this. And we've engaged with them. That's now in process.
Sure. Chris Lake with Delve Design. So we just started pre-design. We've come to a general square footage, 20,000, as you've heard. We are working through that design process right now to design what will be a unique building for them, sustainably designed in nature, that will fit well with Creekside Corporate Park. We'll take advantage of the topography of the site. We're looking at something that's probably got a walkout basement to it because of the way the contours work on Lot 7, so that they can engage in the natural aspects of the park. We think it's a good fit here. We are, like others, hoping that there are some changes to the PUD only because there are materials that we would like to see utilized that are sustainable in nature, that were not contemplated at the time that the PUD was originally drafted. It's not going to make or break our project necessarily, but we think that it will enhance the design of the building and of the park.
And I understand you want to lock down this parcel. My recommendation would be to, work with town staff and use our standard template.
For the term sheet.
For the term
Yeah.
sheet.
Which we received today.
Because there's a lot missing from
So
your term sheet versus.
I think
what we-
process-wise, we were directed that if we wanted to hold this lot, to get this in front of you tonight so that we could negotiate in good faith without having somebody else take this out from underneath us, was the way it was sort of conveyed. So that's why this came to you as quick as it did this evening. And we are willing to start taking the next steps immediately. This is their plan. They're not looking anywhere else.
I'm willing to make a motion to move forward with negotiation.
And I'll second.
Any discussion? Negotiation or
Accepting the LOI.
Oh, I thought we had moved to negotiation with the term sheet.
well, I struggle, I'll be honest with you, I struggle a little bit because, we are reading this for the first time at our meeting.
Yeah.
And that's where I struggle in terms of following the process that our planning department has, having a little bit of a
You want to see more substance.
substance and time.
Well, Wayne,
And I can't comment on if there's any other interest in lot 7, right? This is your interest sheet. Without knowing and without allowing others to have as short a notice as you all provided, I'm locking it down for a discussion. I don't know. I'm not necessarily in favor of locking it down for you to allow the start of a discussion. That's my personal opinion. Continue to have discussions, absolutely. But to say no one else can peek into lot 7 while we're waiting for a term sheet that meets our requirements, I'm a little bit uncomfortable. That is my position, yeah.
But people have had a lot of time to express interest on lot 7, right?
I agree.
10
And
plus
we
years.
have a motion and a second, so.
Well, I have a question for Wayne. Does that inconvenience your staff at all if we go ahead and move forward with negotiations? Or does your staff need more time? Or another discussion here?
No, we're prepared to provide that term sheet. Sounds like we've done that already. So, we're,
5 hours ago,
we're-
same time we got the LOI.
we're reacting as fast as they're moving, I guess you
Okay.
could, to answer your question.
Yeah, so we wouldn't be causing an inconvenience by going ahead and pushing this forward.
No, there's no inconvenience, but sort of looking for the RDC to identify if there's parties that will be negotiating or having those conversations.
But to
But I think
Sanjay's,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, to Sanjay's point, you're accepting the LOI.
Oh, okay.
You're accepting the LOI. If you accept this LOI, and please tell me if I'm wrong, then the lot 7 is locked down for 120 days. Am I correct in saying
Right,
that?
and that's, what you're asking for is to lock it in today by accepting your LOI.
Mhm.
On the other ones, we've said we will start reviewing and negotiating
Mhm.
that LOI.
Yeah.
Right, that's a difference in what the recommendation, we have an LOI in front of us, but what I heard here is, can we lock it down today? And that's where I'm a little uncertain
Yeah,
that's the
it's an
right
important
move
clarification. I appreciate
for
it.
the RDC.
May I make
Yeah.
a suggestion?
Yes.
Would we be able to modify that LOI so that we would agree to provide a term sheet prior to your next meeting, but in this less than 30, the 30-day interim period, that we would be able to have a guarantee that it's not pulled out from under us? If we come back prior to the next meeting with a term
Well,
sheet to negotiate?
What I can tell you now is we don't have a current term sheet by another prospective developer. And if we received a term sheet by another prospective developer, you'd have to come to this body.
Okay.
And you would come to this body at our next RDC meeting, maybe at the same time as yours. But I can't promise you that. But as of now, we don't have, and the process would be to bring it in front of this board regardless. So I don't believe it can be scooped from under you because of the
Yeah,
process.
I'm just trying to get familiar with the process
I
because
understand,
we're
and I
doing what
appreciate
we
it.
were asked to do by the planning
My
department.
biggest
so-
concern is this is short, it's not complete, it doesn't follow our language. And that's where I don't want to make a commitment to you all until we have adequate time.
Yeah, and so can we make a counter?
You can make whatever motion, you can
Like,
take your
I
motion
mean-
back.
I mean, and so I would say, like, I guess what I was thinking was that we would move forward in the same fashion as Kate, I think, was thinking, is with, like we are with the others, like, let's agree to continue the conversation of
The negotiation.
But not lock down the lot
Correct.
for 120 days.
Can we motion for that?
Yeah, you can motion whatever you want. Yes.
Okay, that's what I was trying to, yes, I would think that we should move
Motion to-
forward to negotiate with EO advisors.
And I will second.
Okay, then I have a question. Is that okay with you guys? What we're suggesting is we take out the 120 days.
Yeah, no, I mean, candidly, it's fine. I don't think there's a high probability of somebody scooping this out from under us. My only issue is that we followed the process that was presented to us, and we're doing, like, it's just not very clear what we're supposed to be doing. There's no direct outline. We responded as quickly as we could to the request. Very happy to bend over backwards to get this done. My key thing is I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money putting renderings together, a plan together, represent to you guys, and then somebody comes in the back door and scoops it out. That's it.
No, that's fair. Makes sense. I wouldn't like that either.
So we have a motion to continue discussions with EO Advisors LLC in regards to development of a term sheet per our standard terms.
And we are not voting on this LOI.
Correct.
Quick clarification.
Yes.
So EO Advisors would own the entire building and lease a portion of it to this other group, or
It
would
would
they
be
be a?
together. Yeah. It would likely be together.
Okay,
And one thing that wasn't mentioned was the owner of Plow Digital is also a resident of Zionsville, longtime resident of Zionsville.
We like that. Okay. So are we clear on our motion?
Yes, I believe so. Wayne, did we capture it?
And I seconded.
We have a motion, and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. Final item of business is our claims, which are in your packet.
So I would suggest that do not approve. I'm going to vote no. I'll tell you that right now. Because we've asked for description and we've asked for a budget and we haven't seen a budget. We don't know where this money is coming from or what it's doing. And I know that they just hired a new financial person, but until we get better clarification for me, I'll be voting no on all of these.
Can't, hold on, I feel like the budget is online. Correct me if I'm wrong, Wayne.
Correct. I mean, your specific budget was contained within the 2021 annual report as it outlined what your 2022 budget would look like. Yes, Kent is exactly right. I mean, 2 weeks was not enough time for the new CFO to jump in, get all these things done, and certainly work with staff to get every report generated in time for every meeting. Certainly that timeline just was not able to be met. So but your budget is online.
So
2022 budget is on that.
Correct.
yeah, so I have some more questions then. So it's only been, I don't know how long, maybe it was just this year or half of last year when we started voting on appropriations. Is that the right word? Account, whatever we're voting for. And in that time, we have never seen any kind of thorough budget outlook for what we are doing. I know that there's some form of a budget online. I don't think that it's near as accurate as it should be. It's not. Is it updated? I'm asking Wayne, is it updated?
I have to ask the CFO.
Okay.
It doesn't have budgets versus actuals, if that's what you're saying. We've never seen the budget next to the actuals.
Yeah. So I will not be voting for any appropriations until we can understand better about what I'm voting for. I'm voting for stuff that I have no idea what I'm voting for. That's me. And that's, yeah.
What is Trainer and Associates?
So that's the appraisals. That's the appraiser that you engaged to study lot 2 out front here at Town Hall.
Okay.
So part of the disclosure, we are supposed to be also able to see invoices. Am I correct in that? About description of what these requests are, not just a line that says Traylor and Associates $2,000. Are we not allowed to see?
Sure, we can provide those, certainly.
I mean, that they're supposed to be provided, no?
I'd have to ask the CFO.
Okay.
Of what is to be provided to you financially. This is the report that the Finance Records Department gives us, 2 pages.
And I think, Kent, you are absolutely right that, from the time that we have been asked to review and approve these, we have been requesting additional information. And I think your request of asking for more detail is appropriate. We've had, a change in CFOs. We have a new person on board. And I'll give you my opinion. I don't want to hold up payment to our vendors that provide good service to us on the account of a financial transition here at the town of Zionsville. And then that's just me, right? Because you like to get paid and I like to get paid.
I agree.
So that my position, my opinion is you are absolutely right. We deserve to have more information. And we requested it from our CFO. There's been a transition. I think we need to allow the new person some time to get their arms around town finances and budgets as a whole, in addition to what we desire here at the RDC.
I have a couple responses to that. Number one, me personally, I think that we have to protect tax dollars here. And not knowing what we're voting for here is an issue. And it's been an issue for me since day one. I think that regardless of the situation of who is in charge, the fact that the taxpayer can't figure out what's going on here is an issue. And if it forces, by me voting no, if it forces better action than the 1.5 years that we've been waiting, or whatever the time period is, I think you should vote no. The other question I have is that Wayne, why did it change in the first 3+ years that I was on the board? We never voted on anything like this. Why did it change? Was there a regulation that changed, or
change in legal counsel? Your new legal counsel identified this as a action item that should fall to the.
So it should have been, we should have been theoretically doing it before.
I can't answer that. We'll have to have the attorney answer that question.
Is
But
Heather
there
still
could have
with
been
us?
a regulatory change.
I'm glad we do. I like seeing the claims for the RDC rather than being buried.
I totally
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Is Heather still with us?
I am. Yeah, there wasn't a change. I think there's just a difference in how we perhaps read the statute than folks you were working with before.
Okay. All right.
And we're not suggesting by approving these that we agree with the content of the invoice. We are simply saying, yes, those claims have been brought forward. And it's as I understand it, a second step. Somebody else has authorized those expenses as part of the RDC. And we're just simply saying, okay, the claims are in front of us and that's what we are paying today.
Well, I mean, each of these action items are in front of you based on active current contracts or agreements.
And just for reference here, the Trainer and Associates invoice was approved. This board approved them to do the appraisal work.
Yeah, that
for-
was last month or the month before, I remember.
And then obviously the
And-
legal fees are recurring
And we've
expenses.
seen those month after month, so those aren't changing.
And then the $79 was something that.
Do we have enough
that we
money to
added
pay
last
for it?
last month.
Do we have enough money to pay for?
Correct.
Yes.
You do. I mean, your appropriation.
How do we
report-
know that, Wayne?
The appropriation report shows, for February, shows $1.8
Where is
million.
where is the appropriation report?
That is something the CFO provides just overall to department heads. It doesn't provide you a line by line item description like you're asking. But the appropriation report, at least through February, shows $1.8 million in your funding and about a $432,000 expense, again, through February. So, and I can tell you that we've not spent $1.4 million over the last 2 months, I mean, based upon the claims that we processed. So there is ample funds available according to the appropriation reports.
So if the town doesn't have a budget and you say that ample funds are available, I mean, I don't know how you know that because they can't produce a budget,
I've seen the town budget.
but they can't produce enough information so that you can see a full picture. I mean, certainly a budget was approved, I agree, but
You want to see run rate.
I want to see
The actual expenses.
where the money's coming in and where it's going. And, you know, I mean, you don't pay bills in a business unless you know that there's enough money and
This body's only responsible for funds that the RDC controls.
Right.
So that's this Fund 490 is one of those, because there's probably however many funds, there's however many TIF districts we have. And this is what we're saying has 1.4 million in it, right? It feels like you're making a point about a larger issue with the town that's
I am.
going to impact, but I think that point's being made in the wrong place.
Well,
Because
I appreciate your opinion, but they're asking us to vote on appropriations that I don't have any idea where they're coming from or where they're going to. We need to be able to see.
it's going to Ice Miller, it's going to Trainer, it's
Yeah,
going to Chase.
But I don't, we need to see the invoicing. We need to know what the actual money is for. And that's what I'm requesting. You guys can vote for it. I'm just one vote.
I agree with your point, Kent, about follow-up from the new CFO, but in the interim, I am comfortable approving these, so I'll make a motion to approve the register that was provided at today's meeting.
You have a motion?
I'll second.
You have a motion, a second? Any further discussion? And Kent, I do appreciate your concern
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I
the
do
goal
too.
is
Me
to
too.
correct that and have additional information provided to the RDC. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-1. Thank you. Any other business, folks? Thank you.
That was our first vote, Kent. That's not all
I appreciate
one
everyone's
thing.
patience.
I
and input
agree with you. I
today.
just-
So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.